Welcome to this weekly update, which wraps up Unit 3 and brings us into Unit 4. I'm going to give some overview of some of the activity we've been seeing going on in the course and give you a couple pointers as we look forward to Unit 4. There were some nice responses to the activity break in some of the prototyping activities. I want to comment on that, the simple nature at which people did this, and yet it was still quite elaborate and fulfilling the requirements really well. So Philippe Baron, who we commented on a few times in the live event that happened last week, gave a really nice pen and paper prototype where he photographed everything along the way. Really comprehensive paper prototype. Paul D. Programmer also did a nice job doing some paper prototyping, really comprehensive presentation there as well. Those are both worth looking at for really nice comprehensive paper prototypes. Looking at some of the work that people are doing on prototyping of their own game as they do assignments moving forward. It's nice to see projects in various stages of development. There's several projects that I'll call out that are not quite playable, but they're getting there in terms of their quality, and it's worth looking at where some people are at. So one of them is Kyoko Uchida, who has a game about building the sentences in English, where you sort of build them word by word over time, so it helps scaffold the sentence building process as you learn a new language. So that prototype is getting there in terms of its capabilities. And Kelly Draper had a nice one, which was a card game on biology, and the cards were sort of spec'd out pretty well, pretty extensively across several different categories for that game. There's a couple games I want to call out. One mostly because it had a terrific name. It was called GAN Terrific. It was a project planning game by Quillo, and it's starting there. As I recall, there's sort of tasks that you have to match to people, and it's starting to think about the project planning process. It has a bit of a way to go, but I think the concept is there. The thing that's interesting is it's an interesting domain. Project planning is an interesting way to think about using these educational games. Certainly a fair domain, and one that I think a lot of people could learn something from. So nice choice there. A couple games that are further along that are playable and still have some work to do in terms of where they could go, but very different in their approach to game design and development. So one of them is a driving safety game from Jay Lerner, 1433. This is a game where you actually see yourself driving outside the window of a car under somewhat dangerous conditions, and you need to make some choices about what you do as you drive. It's quite realistic in the way it looks, and sort of interesting to play. So definitely check out that one. At the other end of the spectrum in terms of graphic fidelity is a Twine game. Twine is a game engine for making text-based adventure games where you're making choices. And so Shay Rossi made a game about Norse mythology, and also explained why she chose the Twine engine, which is nice. And you can actually see that game and play it. There's some embedded videos in it as well. Actually, you can include sort of HTML kinds of assets in a Twine game. So again, two totally different approaches to game design. Both of them, I think, really interesting in what they're trying to accomplish and the way that they do it. So both worth taking a look at. Groups, there's some good group activity there. The math games and the science educators have both had some good activity over the last week, giving feedback to each other, continuing to develop prototypes and share them within their own communities. It's nice in that you can get more quality feedback in some cases when it's people who share your domain interest or your domain expertise. So I'd like to see that kind of collaboration going on. Looking forward to Unit 4, we'll be focusing on play testing and iteration. We'll be doing some things on design-based research and focusing again on one of our big games here, Radix. And we hope you'll like that, and we look forward to seeing you online.